Carter, Fitzwater, Gregory, May,
Here.
McCreary,
Here.
Mosley.
We have a quorum for a moment, and the other members will be here shortly too. So what we're going to do today is, first of all, I'm going to hear House Committee Substitute for House Bill 516, 290, and 778. So Mark, if you want to come forward. After we hear that bill, if I have a quorum and everybody's here, we're going to go into executive session and vote out 2 or 3 bills, and then we're going to go back and hear 493 and 635. So that'll be the order we go in today. And Mark, go ahead and begin when you're ready.
Well, good morning, committee. I very much appreciate you for taking the time to hear House Bills 516, 290, and 778. As all 3 of you might remember from our time together in the past, focusing on the radioactive contamination of our region has been a huge priority of mine for what's going on a decade now. I started learning about this issue in 2015 and 2016 and met with a lot of federal officials trying to move the needle on getting actual remediation and cleanup happening with some local community groups back in that time. And I think one of the key conversations that I had in one of my trips meeting with EPA officials is when they sat back with a smug look on their face, folded their arms, and said, "Why should we care about the state of Missouri when the state of Missouri hasn't done a thing to help themselves?" And the truth hurt, because we really hadn't done much on our own to help solve this problem. I worked on some legislation with a senator in 2017. Unfortunately, that didn't pass. But in 2018, I was able to create the Radioactive Waste Investigation Fund, which this bill modifies that original legislation. A couple changes that we're going to look at here is the funding key. At that time, we weren't having supplemental budgets. The governor was having to do withholds every year. So looking for money that was available to try to get this funded, we found a very healthy fund in the Hazardous Waste Fund. And I limited my request to transfer money to $150,000 a year. At that time, the DNR felt like they could accomplish about 3 tests per year, solely focused on soil and dust sampling. At that time, the Westlake landfill was in my district, and so a lot of this was focused on how do we identify areas in that vicinity that had never been tested, and that the EPA, the Army Corps, every government agency involved refused to test. Since then, we have gotten more involvement, but the scope of where we need to test is not limited to that area. I hope you guys are familiar with Coldwater Creek. That has been an area the federal government knew was contaminated since 1949 and did not take action until a few short years ago. In St. Charles County, where I live now, we have the Weldon Spring Munitions site, and the major concern in that area is how the groundwater has carried the material that was never cleaned up into other areas. In Senator Shor's district, there is a street where every single home on that street has somebody with a rare cancer that is not rare in Missouri because so many people in North County also have these types of rare cancers. So there is areas that need to be explored. However, when our federal government determines where they're going to test and remediate, they draw the smallest circle possible around a site, and they will not go outside of that area. It's our role to continue testing in those adjacent areas to make sure they're not contaminated, but if they are, to compel our federal government to get in and actually clean up the mess that they caused. One thing the bill does is it adds water testing to what can be tested, moving past just the soil and dust testing, because we do know the groundwater is key in moving the contaminated materials throughout our region. Because of our limestone structure and our rivers flowing through the area, some of the environmental scientists have very good evidence that material can move around the St. Louis metro area faster than anywhere else in the country, which is why being able to test the groundwater sources is crucial and needs to be added to this bill. I am trying to get away eventually from requesting transfers from the Hazardous Waste Fund. While it's still a healthy fund, there's concerns that it may not remain a healthy fund. I want to be able to open it up to general revenue allocations in the future, or any type of federal grants or any other gifts that we can get in to better fund this program and step away from, the Hazardous Waste Fund as being the current source. And another key change for this legislation is that it allows community groups and individuals who are affected and impacted by the radioactive contaminated material to be able to make a direct request. The original program required a local political subdivision to be the entity who makes that request. And for a variety of reasons, number one, the program wasn't funded the first 6 years after its created. It is funded now. But not every elected official on the local level has the scientific knowledge to know where the material could be moved. Yet, some of the community groups are working with environmental scientists and people who are the experts on this, who can help identify where appropriate testing should take place. And that's one of the main driver of opening this up to allow other groups and people to make those requests. So that pretty much sums it up. Now, I will tell you now, on the Senate floor, there will be one change made to this bill. It's very crucial, the very last sentence of the bill.
That's going to be, we're going to vote on that today. We have a sub out for that.
Oh, you do have it.
But
Okay.
explain that, will you?
Wonderful. So the very last sentence reading, departments shall seek reimbursement of expenses incurred during radioactive waste cleanup from any federal agency responsible. That needs to say testing. The state of Missouri is not responsible to pay for that cleanup. And we're very specific that this is a testing program, not a cleanup program. We never intended on alluding to the fact that the state would be responsible for cleanup and go after that reimbursement. So that does need to be fixed. It said testing in prior versions. Somehow that changed, but we need to pass it out in the correct format. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for this witness?
So thank you for clarifying on that, because I couldn't figure out how that amount of money could it wouldn't even touch cleanup at all. So the testing amount makes a lot more sense. So thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none. How many people want to testify in favor of this bill? How many in opposition? Okay. First in favor, please come forward.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you, Chairman Sarapoy, for holding this hearing, and committee members for sharing your morning with us. My name is Kristen Camuso. I am a policy specialist with the Missouri Coalition for the Environment. Our organization has been working on this issue for many decades, me personally for the last 12 years. I can also attest to a lot of the things that Representative Matthiesen just put forth. Many community members throughout the years I've been working on this have requested their own ability to test for soil, water, sediment. And we're happy and pleased that this bill is moving forward and would offer that, and also open it up to individual community members to make these requests, and not just a local governing body. I do want to read a couple of these things so I don't leave them out. I want to specifically kind of hone in on the North County sites. We know that the federal government, as Representative Matthiesen said, knew that this waste was leaking into Coldwater Creek as early as 1949, and they did nothing to stop it or mitigate the leaks or, unfortunately, warn the public. Instead of this, they allowed the contaminants to leach and spread through the community every time the creek flooded or the wind blew for the next 60 years. They also stood silently by as the creek channel was widened and the dredged material was given to homeowners to level their yards. Throughout the decades, several credible stories have come to light regarding the movement of contaminated or potentially contaminated soil, revealing that both the public and to some extent the agencies responsible were unaware of the extensive nature of the contamination. For instance, there have been stories of truck drivers who, under the pretense of hauling clean fill dirt, actually took this waste home to use in their gardens and level out their yards. Unfortunately, we later now learned that that waste, or the soil that they were moving, was the contaminated soil from Laddie Avenue being illegally dumped in the Westlake landfill. That hauling company also washed off their soil, the soil off of their trucks into Coldwater Creek just upstream of the airport site. To date, that area has never been tested. More recently, the Hazelwood School District Board of Education requested testing at all their properties after concerns that potentially contaminated soil was moved from Jana Elementary School to the football field at Hazelwood Central High School. Jana Elementary closed its doors permanently in 2023 after radioactive waste was discovered in the creek banks along their property. To the best of our knowledge, the other school buildings have not been tested. These revelations underscore the importance of additional testing beyond the scope of the federally recognized sites. We are also aware of concerns of what happens once the Department of Natural Resources would find contamination, and I recently attended a United States Army Corps of Engineers FUSRAT meeting just this last week, where they seemed very supportive of working with the department to form a cooperative agreement, if the department finds credible waste contamination, that they would come in and try to partner with them to get this waste cleaned up. I agree with Matthiesen that this should not be the state's responsibility to clean up the federal government's waste. I also want to just quote what Colonel Panier said to quell any fears on that. He explained that they're limited to the boundaries set forth in their record of decision, but there is an effort in the state through DNR to allow them to be able to investigate some areas. If it leads to something credible, we can go down that route. We appreciate the General Assembly is exploring solutions to the environmental and public health crisis, and ask the committee to support the House substitute.
Thank you. Any questions for this witness? Seeing none. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next in favor, please come forward.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and esteemed members of the committee. My name is Carrie Nice-Wonger, and I'm here to testify in support of this legislation on the behalf of the Sierra Club. So first, I'd like to thank the bill sponsor for all of his hard work on this bill, and thank the committee as well for taking the time to consider it today. We believe that this bill is a critical step forward in safeguarding public health and addressing a very persistent and prevalent environmental issue. Radioactive waste, as we all know, in various areas in St. Louis County and also across the state, have harmed Missouri families for generations. We deeply appreciate this legislation as it will expand the scope of waste investigations all the way from reporting to funding. Communities and Sierra Club members have voiced their concerns about potential exposure to hazardous material, so this bill provides a structured and responsive mechanism to address those concerns. So the Sierra Club is in support of this legislation, and we ask the committee members to stand in support as well. Thank you so much for your time.
Any comments or questions? Seeing none. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is that everybody in favor? First person opposed, please come forward. Anything earlier, but hopefully you have a witness form or you did it online? Or...
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, fill it out.
Thank you. Let's know who you are. Yeah.
Good morning. Matthew Smith with Associated Industries of Missouri, going on record in opposition to this bill. We are concerned about Section 6 of the bill, which requires money from the Hazardous Waste Fund to be transferred to the fund in this bill for radioactive cleanup. The reason we're concerned with this is because the Hazardous Waste Fund is funded by businesses that must clean up hazardous waste issues. The fund should be protected and used for hazardous waste permits and cleanup projects. Transferring money out of this fund for another purpose puts those cleanups at risk. So we prefer that this money comes from general revenue or from other federal funds, not the hazardous waste fund. The federal government made this mess, and the state shouldn't expect Missouri businesses to pay for the cleanup. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else in opposition? That will conclude the hearing on House Committee Substitute for House Bill 516, 290, and 778. I know we don't. We do? 1, 2, 3, 4. I count 4. Okay. Yeah, let's do. Representative, we may have you begin your testimony. We're texting people to get them in here. If they get here, we'll stop and go to executive session, and we'll continue your bill. So why don't you come ahead and start your presentation, if you would.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. I appreciate the opportunity to present to you the House Committee Substitute for House Bills 493 and 635. The underlying bill here is 493 and 635. It takes away the requirement of consignment auctions to collect sales tax on used tangible property purchased at consignment auctions. Exemptions to this will be your title items such as motors, vehicles, trailers, boats, or outboard motors, which that tax is collected at the License Bureau when you title the item. The reason for this exemption is we have a law currently that requires consignment auctions to collect sales tax, but it doesn't often happen because it's not enforced. First of all, it's pretty well unenforceable. Even the Office of Administration, I looked up last night, sells items on online auctions, online consignment auctions, and their stance on sales tax is if you think you might owe it, fill out a form and remit your sales tax. They're not collecting sales tax at the auction. They're asking buyers to decide whether they need to pay sales tax or not. Another problem with this is that, say you have an auction for an individual, no sales tax is due. But if 2 or 3 people put items into that, that becomes a consignment auction, and then sales tax is supposed to be collected. It's not enforced throughout the state. Most auctioneers don't know they're supposed to be doing it in the first place. And it's just will be cleaner to make things this way and not do it. We looked at the, this also includes the broadband machinery, equipment, and supplies exemption for sales tax, and that will be done by the broadband company providing their vendors with a certificate that says that they're exempt from sales tax on that. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Thank you. Do we pay sales tax on eBay right now?
eBay collects, I believe they do collect use tax because they're so big.
Right. Because I would guess the Wayfair included them. I'm just not sure. Does anybody know?
I don't buy anything on eBay, so I don't know.
Would this apply to them then? They're an auction.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they're considered to be a consignment auction in Missouri law or not. I don't know.
Okay, something we need to look at. Okay, any questions? Other questions for this gentleman? Okay, seeing none. 1, 2, we got 5 now, right? So we can do it. Okay. Carla Mays of no. We're going to go. Hang on just a second. I think we're going to go executive action. Okay, I'm going to make a motion that we go into executive session. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. We are in executive session. First thing I'm going to ask is that we bring Senate Bill 537 before the committee. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. Senate Bill 537 is before the committee. Senate Bill 537 was a bill we heard a couple weeks ago. I was not here that day. I believe Senator Henderson chaired the committee. We heard this bill last year, too. It's the national security vulnerabilities in our supply chains and tackles over-reliance on foreign sources for critical materials for energy and defense and applications by supporting Missouri-based companies to reconfigure themselves to manufacture critical materials to support the security and resilience of our state. I'm hoping my members remember that bill because I was not here. So any other discussion on that?
I am going to be supporting the bill, but one of my concerns is when you look at our state's past history with some of these things, we've seen that we haven't protected communities and workers enough when we're doing these things. So my hope is moving forward, we could have like some honest discussions about what we've learned a lot of lessons over the past 100 years, and my hope is that we could put some things in place proactively so that we can protect communities and workers rather than after the fact trying to figure out how to help them heal or make a community whole.
Okay.
So, thanks.
Any other discussion? Okay, then I move that we do pass Senate Bill 537. Any further discussions? Do I have a second? Michelle, will you please call the roll?
Senator Searpoy,
Aye.
Henderson, Bernsketter, Carter, Fitzwater, Gregory, McCreary, Mosley,
Henderson's a yes. You got Carla Mays in there. Should I say two people left that vote with the chair?
yeah.
Okay. We had 2 votes left with the chair. The tally is, what did we say, 5 to 1? 6 to 1? Which one, 5? Okay, the motion passes 6 to 1. I now move that we bring Senate Bill 601 before the committee. Do I have a second? All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, say no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. Senate Bill 601 is before the committee. And so let me make a do-pass motion for Senate Bill 601. Do I have a second? The discussion on that is this was Senator Gregory's bill. I guess you heard that a couple weeks ago too when Senator Henderson was chairing the committee. It's about the PERT testing for septic systems, right? Any further discussion on that?
I mean, it's a crappy bill when it all comes down to it, 'cause that's what we're dealing with. Percolation testing versus soil morphology testing. Percolation testing is where you like dig a hole in the ground, you dump a 5-gallon bucket in of water, and then see how fast it takes for the water to go down. Due to ever-changing moisture levels, that doesn't necessarily give you an accurate reading of what the soil can actually handle in terms of septic fields. But soil morphology testing is like where you basically run a soil test and it tells you what types of soil you have, what the water holding capacity is, and everything else. So it's a more accurate reading. And so this basically does away with the percolation testing because it's no longer accurate, so to speak. So we'd go to soil morphology testing as the means of septic fields. And oddly enough, I think it's one of the acronyms. DHSS is actually the ones that are in charge of septic fields for lots of residential areas across the state. It's something I never would have dreamed there'd be support, like somewhat statewide support for, but I've got more emails in support of it than I ever would have imagined for septic systems. So it's one of the odd ones that I've worked on for going on its 3rd year now.
Well, and I assume since we have so much clay in the state, that also would affect percolation rates?
Potentially, yes.
Okay.
Yep, and sand and everything else.
Oh,
If you
yeah.
went out right now and tried to do a percolation test, it'd be like, well, no, you can't do it, and just because of the water we've had. But in all reality, it can.
I have a faint memory of this. My school bus driver was also our septic tank person, and so I remember hanging out with her when she would come out once a year to check our septic tank. So, all right, I'll be supporting it. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Any further discussion? I've already made the do-pass motion, so Michelle, will you please call the roll?
Senator Searpoy.
Aye.
Henderson, Bernsketter, Carter, Fitzwater, Gregory, McCreary, Mosley.
We had 2 votes left, right? Again, we had 2 votes left for the chair. That Senate Bill 601 passes 7 to to 0. I now move that we bring House Committee substitute for House Bill 516, 290, and 718 before the committee. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. House Committee substitute for House Bill 516, 290, and 778 is before the committee. We have a sub on this one, and it was distributed electronically to everybody, I believe yesterday, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And so, and it was already explained, we just changed the thing from testing to testing from cleanup. So that's pretty simple. Any discussion on this bill? Okay, then I move that we adopt Senate Committee substitute for Senate Bill, for House Committee substitute for House Bill 516, 290, and 778. Do I have a second? We do. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I now move that we do pass Senate Committee substitute for House Committee substitute for House Bill 516, 290, and 778. Do I have a second? Second. Any further discussion on this bill? Seeing none, Michelle, please call the roll.
Searpoy.
Aye.
Henderson. Bernsketter. Carter. Fitzwater. Gregory. May. McCreary. Mosley.
Again, we had 2 votes left for the chair. That passes 7-0. I move that we leave executive session. Do I have a second? We have a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. We are out of executive session. I think I'm about to lose half my committee. We will now return to House Committee substitute for House Bill 493 and 635. Representative, I'm sorry to interrupt you like that.
Not a problem, Senator.
Okay. We'll now, because I just don't know when my committee's going to be here, so you got to grab it when they come.
Certainly.
Go ahead and continue your testimony if you would.
Yeah. I will address the fiscal note just a little bit. That it is a high fiscal note, largely because of the broadband part, but I have gone back and forth with DOR about their calculations for consignment auctions. I put my calculator on this morning, and they can't even figure out what 1.7% of 17.6 billion is. They've got $301,841,990,990. It's $299,200,000,200,000. They're including items in there that are not sold at auctions. For instance, antique stores and antique malls and things like that do remit sales tax on consignments that are not auctions are included in the figure they have here. So their figures are way overblown. I told them they'd been better off if they'd put unknown, and they've been more honest to put unknown on their fiscal note than to try to put a number like this on it. So that's my take on the fiscal note, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you again. Any other questions? Seeing none. How many people want to testify in favor of this bill? How many want in opposition? Okay, how about information? I think I forgot information last time. Okay, first in support, please come forward. Don't be bashful.
Mr. Chairman, Shannon Cooper today representing T-Mobile. We're just going to go on record in support of the exemption for the broadband supplies. Be happy to answer any questions.
I was wondering what you're testifying. Okay, I forgot about that part. Okay, thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
questions? Seeing none. Next in favor, please come forward.
Bill Gamble, Missouri Broadband Providers. We're on, want to go on record in support of the sales tax exemption for the broadband equipment.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none. Thank you, Bill. Next.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Mike Sutherland with the Association of Missouri Electric Cooperatives, and we have 17 of our cooperatives who do deploy broadband, and so I'm here to support the exemption for the broadband.
Thank you. Seeing none. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Next in favor.
Mr. Chairman, Noel Torpy with MCTA. I want to go on record in support.
Thank you.
Good morning, Matthew Smith, Associated Industries of Missouri. I want to go on record in support of this bill.
The whole thing or just the...
The broadband
Okay.
sales tax
Thank you.
exemptions. Yep.
Anybody else in favor, please come forward. Anybody in opposition?
I'm sorry, Senator, I didn't jump up soon enough.
Okay.
Good morning. My name is Doug Galloway, here representing AT&T to speak in favor of this bill, particularly the sales tax exemption for broadband equipment. That language has already been passed out of the Senate in a previous bill and it's been heard by this committee before, so I'll stop there unless you have questions.
I do not. Thank you very much. Anybody else in favor? Anybody in opposition? Anybody for information purposes? Seeing none. Thank you, Representative, for presenting this bill. That will conclude the hearing on, that will end the Commerce Committee. We adjourned.